Hey guys, how's it going? Today on All Ball, we'll be predicting which team is going to win the NBA championship. If you didn't watch the previous video on which teams will make the NBA playoffs, I would suggest watching that first. Even if you didn't though, here's a quick recap of all the teams that will make the NBA playoffs. From the Eastern Conference, we have the Heat, Bulls, Nets, Cavs, 76ers, Bucks, Celtics, and Hornets. While in the West, we have the Suns, Warriors, Grizzlies, Jazz, Mavericks, Lakers, Nuggets, and Clippers. In the last video, we predicted that in the East, the Boston Celtics will take the 7th seed while the Hornets will take the 8th seed. In the West, the Nuggets take the 7th seed and Clippers take the 8th seed. Now let's look at where the rest of the teams will potentially finish at the end of the season. Let's start with the East. In the 6th seed, we have the team that's currently 3rd in the standings, and that's the Cleveland Cavaliers. Colin Sexton is having a great year along with Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. But with all the teams making a final push in the second half of the season, I believe that the young team in Cleveland will slip down to the 6th seed by the end of the regular season. Next to the 5th seed, we have the Chicago Bulls. Chicago had a great start this year with the trio of DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Lonzo Ball. However, with Lonzo being out 6 to 8 weeks and Zach LaVine coming out of his recent knee injury, I see the Bulls finishing in the 5th seed. In the 4th seed, we have the Philadelphia 76ers. Now the 76ers position all depends on Joel Embiid. He's playing the best basketball of his career, averaging more points than minutes played. But because his injuries are so unexpected, I see him missing another stretch of games, managing to secure Philly at the 4th seed. In the 3rd seed, we have the Brooklyn Nets. For some reason, this team just doesn't want to play together. This team is the favorite to win the NBA championship, but as for the regular season seedings, I see them in the 3rd place. Kyrie Irving doesn't want to get vaccinated for some reason. Kevin Durant is out for the next 4 to 6 weeks because of a knee injury, and the Beard is honestly playing decent, but he occasionally suffers from left hamstring tightness and misses games. Now for the 2nd seed, we have the Miami Heat. This is one team in the NBA that's actually a team, with players like Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, and Duncan Robinson. This team has a bunch of amazing talent but no superstar. That being said, I think Jimmy Butler is the best leader in the NBA, and the entire team seems to accept and love the fact that Jimmy leads them. Now for the 1st seed, we have the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo is literally a ticket to rank at the top seed during the regular season. With a decent supporting cast in Chris Middleton and Jrue Holiday, I believe that the defending champs will finish at the top of the East. Now let's talk about the West. In the last video, along with putting the Clippers in the 8th seed and Nuggets in the 7th seed, we also predicted that the Lakers would make it to the 6th seed. In the 5th seed, we have the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic was predicted by many analysts to be the MVP frontrunner this season. Although he's not had an MVP caliber season, I believe that him, Kristaps Porzingis, and Tim Hardaway Jr. will secure the 5th seed in the playoffs. For the 3rd and 4th seed, it was a tough decision between the Memphis Grizzlies and Utah Jazz. But after thinking about it, I think that the Jazz will finish in 3rd place while the Grizzlies will finish at the 4th seed. Utah has faced a significant drop-off from last season when they ranked 1st to finish the regular season. But I see them making a run in the second half of the season and finishing at the 3rd seed. Now Ja Morant and the Grizzlies have had a great season this year. Ja Morant is slowly emerging into a superstar, and I believe that by the end of the season, they'll secure the 4th seed. For the 1st and 2nd seeds, I don't think that the current standings will change. I see the Phoenix Suns finishing at the 1st seed with their well-rounded trio of Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton. As for the Warriors, I know they added Klay Thompson, but I don't think that it'll be enough to surpass the Suns this season. Booker is just playing too well while Curry has encountered a major slump this season. Now that we have the teams and their standings, let's find out who will win the NBA championship. The first round seemed relatively straightforward with the exception of one team, and you'll see who that is. I won't give too many reasons for matchups that are relatively obvious, but here goes. I see the Bucks beating the Hornets 4-0 and the Nets beating the Cavs 4-0. The two other matchups are difficult to decide. In the Heat versus Celtics matchup, I honestly think that it'll be a really close series, but with the depth that this Miami team has, I think it'll be enough to win against the Celtics. Now one of the most anticipated first rounds will be between the 76ers and the Bulls. I honestly don't know who's going to win, and I'd hate to bet against Joel Embiid. But in the end, I think the Chicago team is just way too stacked, and I see the Bulls beating the 76ers in a 7-game series. For the first round in the West, I predict the Suns beating the Clippers 4-2. That's the only one I'm honestly sure of. Now for the Warriors versus Nuggets. The reigning MVP in Jokic will provide a really tough fight for the Warriors. But with all of the pieces from that 73-9 team being present along with the championship DNA, I see the Warriors winning the series in 6 games. Now for the Grizzlies versus Mavericks. Although Doncic has received all of this hype and the Mavericks were up against the Clippers in the last 2 playoffs, he lost both the times and he's never really made it out of the first round of the playoffs. However, neither has Ja Morant, and I think that this will be the first time that Doncic makes it out of the first round by winning against the Grizzlies in a 6-game series. Now for the most important match, the Lakers versus the Jazz. To me, this seems relatively obvious and might piss some people off, but I literally have no doubt that the Lakers will destroy this Utah Jazz team in a 5-game series. It was the first time in LeBron's career last year where he lost in the first round of the playoffs, and there's no way that he'll let that happen again this time. Let's move on to the second round in the East. In the Bucks versus Bulls game, Even though Lonzo Ball is one of my favorite players to watch and I really wanted this team to make a deep playoff run, I think this is the end of the road for them and I see the Bucks winning in 6 games. Now the next game is really tough to predict. For starters, I don't know if Durant will be fully healthy by then, but what I definitely know is that Kyrie isn't playing any home games. So the main question is, do I think that KD and Harden have what it takes to beat this Miami Heat team? Yes, I do. And I see them finishing this series in 6 games. Now let's move on to the West. I think that the second round will be relatively easy for the Phoenix Suns. I see them beating the Mavericks 4-1 and that's about it really. Luka will make it out of the first round, but that's as far as it goes. There's no way that the Mavericks beat the Suns team. Now the game which should have honestly been the NBA Finals. Not conference finals, literally NBA Finals. The Lakers versus Golden State. Let me just say that I see the series going 7 games, but in the end, LeBron and the Lakers will move on to the conference finals. I know that emotions are high in Golden State with Klay coming back and everything, but there's one simple reason why the Lakers will take this series, and that's because Steph Curry isn't going to beat LeBron James in a 7-game series. I know it sounds biased, but think about it. Curry just isn't going to do it. I can spend a whole video on why the Lakers will win, but that'll take too long, so let's move on. Now for the conference finals, we have the Nets versus the Bucks. In the last playoffs, we saw the Nets destroying the Bucks before the Kyrie injury, and I believe that the Nets would have taken that series had it not been for KD's injuries. No pun intended. Now the good part for the Nets is that Kyrie can play the away games at Milwaukee and KD doesn't just have the B-Tech Harden that he had the last time in the playoffs. I actually see this series going 5 or 6 games, but just to be nice, let's give it 6. Now that we have the Nets coming out of the East, let's see the West. I'm literally just extending my sentences at this point to delay the insults I receive for this take. Anyway, the Lakers will have an easy series against the Suns. Now before you hop off the video, let me tell you why. The Lakers lost last season against the Suns, and I know that we're following a pattern by this point, but LeBron just isn't going to let that happen. King James is coming into this series with a vengeance, and with AD hopefully healthy and Westbrook hopefully benched, I see the Lakers winning the series in 6 games. Now in the finals, I think it'll be really close between the Lakers and the Nets. So let's figure this out. Kyrie can't play the whole series. He's obviously not allowed to play in Brooklyn and he can't play in LA either. So basically it's a duel between Harden and KD and LeBron and AD. This one could go either way, but as for my prediction, I see the Lakers winning the series in 7 games, with LeBron James winning Finals MVP for the 5th straight time in his career. Let me know if you agree with this take. I know you may think it's biased, but I genuinely believe that the Lakers will win the championship this season. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and stay tuned for the next one.